cool thing about this, being its title is a 1932, there's no seat belts, so you don't have to wear them. That's right, we die like real men, again. I'm just kidding, there's seat belts, I'm just kidding, again.
The following is a Cruisers Motorsports exclusive.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, Skywarp. Special treat for you guys today, and also a special treat for me. 1932 Ford Restomod. Restomod because the only parts in this thing that are stock pretty much are about 3/4 of the original frame, the firewall, and the floor pan. The rest of this car is absolutely kitted out, and there's nothing wrong with that. These kits for the 32 Fords are the most replicated car in history. Now, I've heard a lot of people at Mecum and Barrett Jackson and everything say 65 Mustang is the most replicated car, or 69 Camaro is the most replicated car. Those kits cost a lot of money. Back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, these kits for these things to replicate this car were becoming dirt cheap. And before the days of all the retirees buying a Harley Davidson, before that was a thing, the thing was to build or buy one of these. Gen X for me, the 69 Camaro and like 65 Mustangs are the pinnacle cars to have. But for boomers, this was the car to have. So it's an older build. It's got a lot of the 90s billet type stuff in it. Mustang 2 front end. It could definitely benefit from a quicker steering box, that's for sure. Small block Chevy. It's putting out about 400 horsepower. Now imagine 400 horsepower in a car that weighs about as much as a Miata, has about the same wheelbase as a Miata, but 400 horsepower. That power to weight ratio is satisfying. So the 400 horsepower 350 small block, HEI ignition, it's fuel injected, thank God. It's coupled to a 700 R4 with a shift kit. So man, this thing, when it shifts, and it really puts you back in your seat. Now this was built primarily for a show car, so it goes, don't get me wrong, but it was primarily built for show, and it hasn't been driven for a while. So I get the privilege of blowing the carbon out of it. Again, that power to weight ratio is just so satisfying. ton of fiberglass customization work, which if you've ever had to have done, is not cheap. The body on this thing is primarily glass. It is odd that it is the hood is the only thing on it that is actually steel. That and the front radiator support, I believe, is still steel, but the rest of it, that's all fiberglass, which is common for these kits like this. The steel kits actually cost more back in the day because it cost more to ship the steel because of the weight. That's the only reason why. They did not miss a beat, though, when it came to the finish on this car. It is absolutely breathtakingly black, my color, and I love that. Primarily these cars. You didn't see a whole lot of muscle cars back then. If you did, a lot of them were clapped out because that's back in the day where you could still get a muscle car for relatively cheap. Favorite part of this car, it isn't the fast engine, the short wheelbase, the finish. No. Are y'all ready for this? It's got an oogle horn!
What an absolute joy it was to drive this car around for a week. If you like this episode of Skywarps Summer Drives, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends who you know would like it as well. Want more? Click the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay up to date on the many other hot cars I have coming to the channel. And make sure to check the description below for links to Cruisers Motorsports social media, our title sponsor, and where to buy cruiser stickers for your own car. I thank you for all the support, my friends. Remember, those friends, they're the family you get to choose. Merry Christmas, fellow cruisers.